I wanted to know how to be a healthy empath. And because I could tell that there was unhealthy things happening. If I'm holding on to thoughts that aren't mine, that's going to create um, inflammation in the body. It can create disease in the body. I already have enough of my own thoughts that are bad or unpleasant. I don't need to hold on to other people's unpleasant, like carrying their trash too. So anyway, I started seeing an energy coach. And in that process of going through my energy centers, we uncovered animal communication was the first thing we uncovered. And I mean, I guess if I digress a little bit, I did actually trigger that possibility when my cat had passed away about a year earlier, because I felt him tell me kind of that moment, it's time. And I felt it in my body and it was undeniable.
Welcome back to Enthusiastically Spiritual. I'm your host, Teresa. This week's guest is a channel, medium, reflector, animal telepath, and spiritual teacher who is here to support others in the alchemization of their own healing through hypnosis and psychic awakening. Her name is Tricia Carr. Tricia's power lies in being able to mutate like a chameleon for others' healing. A reflector who is able to garner the messages of spirit and communicate it to those in need. After alchemizing her own pain, growing up with an abusive and alcoholic father, and then finding herself in an emotionally abusive relationship throughout her 20s, and moving through her spiritual awakening at the age of 40, she is here as an empathic medium to support the healing in others through hypnosis and her psychic abilities. As a channel and hypnotherapist, she has trained hundreds of people to open their psychic abilities, created a new position and department of HMI College of Hypnotherapy, and has even hypnotized celebrities such as Caitlyn Jenner, Nikki Glaser, and Bert Kreischer. Welcome, Tricia.
Thank you, Teresa. I'm so honored and pleased to be here with you and all the listeners.
Well, I'm excited to have you here today. And the first question I like to ask my guests is, what makes you excited and enthusiastic about being you right now in the world?
Magic. I love just the transformation of energy from one form to another, and it's almost like it doesn't matter. I love that phrase. It doesn't matter, because it means materialize. It doesn't manifest. Whatever is before us is leading us to something beautiful and great, surprising and joyful. I just know that I don't even say believe. I just know that this universe fundamentally and paramountly from top to bottom is a loving fabric, and whatever the prime creator intelligence being entity, the creator God, it's love, or at least our relationship with it is love. And it's like the perfect divine parent. So of course, that essence wants us to continue to experience all the beauty and love and joy, whatever our perspective of that is. So yeah, magic, surprise.
No surprise, right, Tricia? Because hello, I agree with you. Like, this is the best time to be on the planet right now. And honestly, if I'm looking back at history, my husband and I watch a lot of documentaries and look back at history and go, oh my gosh, like there's so much bountiful, everything right now, and the way we live and the way we interact, and all the people like you and myself who are showing up to be of service as we go through this alchemization time period on the planet. So I really want to hit back to, you said you mutate like a chameleon. And that really hit me, Tricia, because that's a really cool statement to say for what we're all going through right now. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about how you mutate like a chameleon.
Well, do you know about human design? Have you gotten into human design yet?
I know that I'm a projector.
You
That's
are? Oh,
yeah.
see, I get all gooey because projectors, I married one, so they must be my favorite. I love that. Well, I'm a reflector, and that means that all of my energy centers or chakras are undefined or open, and particularly the what is called the identity center, but it's really the heart. It's what we experience as the heart, even though there's a different center that they named the heart, but it's the love center and it's the direction center. And chameleons, the actual animal, we know that chameleons change their appearance. Like their skin is able to actually change what it is reflecting, really how it looks according to the environment. And the reason that happens is that the chameleon is attuning to the environment for its own balance and well-being, and maybe we would say capacity of love. as well as to be of service to the ecosystem. And then when it's no longer serving the chameleon, when that possibility of that resonance is no longer linking, then it has to move. So it's the love that actually pushes it to another direction. So to be able to mutate yourself as well as for yourself and for the environment is kind of exactly fundamentally what my energy does. All of my centers, not just that love center, but all of them are open. That means they're for others in a sense. And every part of me is saying, who are you and what is the world? And it's really what happens is a resonance field projects out of me, and it's coming from me. I mean, I have the opportunity to, like the ultimate empath, either identify to fear or love in any situation.
Mhm.
And so when I'm with others, individually or with a group, I have the free will choice to pull from spirit, pull from them, from all of us, the highest light or not. But if
Mhm.
I do, then I project this out and we all experience that. So I mutate, and then it is like a container of alchemy that we can all experience. And it's meant for me, but it's also meant for the ecology of the situation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Tricia. Holy cow. What a beautiful definition for yourself and how you
Mhm.
relate to chameleons. Because when I think of chameleons, they are so unique. And I
Mhm.
like to always say how, we're all unique souls on our own
Yes.
journeys and having our own experiences. But that the beauty of chameleons is that, like you're saying, that the changing and how sometimes they'll be purple and pink and red, and they
Mhm.
just kind of, mutate in shape. And it's funny, I just love that definition and how you relate to it, because I was thinking chameleon, well, that is a good way of all of us to kind of move through this place and through
Yeah.
our lives, because everything is shifting and changing momentarily. And what to one time might look like might be different than the next time.
Yes, absolutely. We all have that. That's natural to all of us. And, we're here talking about spirituality. And I think that absolutely everything we want to understand about ourselves, the universe, and spirit, all of the other realms, it's all in nature. So with spirit animal chameleon, we can learn that lesson. With spirit animal dog, we learn another one. And, the essence of any, and even, rocks and soil and leaves, we everything that we want to know or understand or embody is available to us. I mean, even Jesus, what I love about the ministry of Jesus, he was kind of hounded by the teachers of his day because he knew the law. He knew, he had studied it. And they're like, why aren't you out there? They're like, you have so much power as a teacher. Teach them the law. Teach the common or the lesser people the law. And he's like, they don't need those dusty scrolls. Look at the mustard seed. That's everything right there. So I think that everything that we want to expand in our awareness, it's just all right here with us, in us, and around us.
Absolutely. And so, as you're talking about animals, let's go into a little bit about you being an animal telepath and how you can support people. Because I noticed, especially in the last couple of years, going through what we went through in the pandemic and COVID and stuff,
Mm.
that people really relied on their pets.
Yeah.
And for myself, my Bichon, who I love to death, died
Mm.
in 2016. So he died right
Oh.
before I went through a huge transition. But there was such a spiritual connection with him.
Yeah.
And so I would love for you to share a little bit about what you offer with that and the support that people can receive through their animals, because it's a unique bond for sure.
Oh, it so is. Well, animals, like I said about all the other parts of nature, and the animals who come into family relationships with us, it's. I mean, it really is like having an incarnated angel in your midst. They have presence, they have all of the emotional spectrum that humans experience, and particularly with mammals, which that's the most common kind of animal family member. I don't like the word pet as much, not that I blame anyone else. You can use it if you like. I just prefer saying animal family. And but the mammals, we have the mammalian brain lobe in common with them. So the mammalian brain is the part of the brain that humans and other mammals have that is the emotional brain. So that shows us that they have the same capacity of emotional experiencing. And then with other animals like reptiles, we have a reptilian brain. So we have things in common with them, even though just like every other human, their perspective and their worldview is going to be different and unique. So what is required for us to resonate or understand and connect with animals is to come very, very present. And that is one of their gifts compared to us. They don't dwell in the past or be in the future, even though they can have some trauma that is sort of arresting a part of their energy that might need that about something that happened in the past. But it's not a process of thinking and being driven by their mind. They
Mhm.
really are in a constant state of prayer and meditation. And so being able to connect with animals, this is why we have such profound relationships with them, so intimate, because they have that unconditional love frequency on lockdown, you know? They're so much closer to nature. They're so much closer to our Mother Earth, Gaia. I love to refer to the name Gaia. Their signature is much closer to Gaia, and the signature of Gaia is very, very close from our perspective to source energy. It's like the mother father. That's really it. It's parent. And so animals are here to help us, teach us, just bring us present. But being in their energy is healing. And they literally with intention are healing us. People suspect that. When your cat is purring and kneading on a certain area of your body, you need help with your energy flow in that area. And anyway, the stories that I hear from animals, I mean, they have sense of humor that they surprise me so much. I love surprise. And so they just crack me up. I'll go in, even as much as I think I'm being objective, to ask a question, assuming I'm going to get some kind of answer, and they'll turn me a whole different way. And so it's just fun too.
Without a doubt. Well, it's interesting. I found too that a lot of animals also mimic like what certain people are going through in the
Oh,
family.
yes, they're mirrors of us.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so I know that I've had people that have had cancers and their dogs have cancer or
Hmm.
like eye issues and different things like that. So I think that's really interesting. So you're a telepath with animals. So do you help also animals that have passed on like bring back messages or how do you work with the animals?
Yes, yes. I work and I also teach people both as a practitioner and as a teacher. It's the communication or telepathy, so that it's a direct line of communication with that animal in the body, as opposed to reading the human or reading the field or talking to the higher self of the animal, which we can do. But I like to start with that one-on-one conversation, just like you and I are doing, Teresa,
Mhm.
instead of us like sitting remotely, me pulling cards. What does Teresa think? And pulling oracle cards. I'm honoring what we have here is this full incarnated connection. So I teach the direct communication, which is where we can get a lot of the humor and the surprise about, wow, they actually are paying attention. Also healing, energy healing with animals, and being able to attune and adjust their energy. And often that often feeds over to their their human companions. Humans tend to need more support than the animals.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then, yes, animal mediumship and bringing through those messages of healing from animals. Ah, it's so amazing to have the evidence that they also are still with us and guiding us. One of the things that animals on the other side often do, just as a point of interest, one little thing is that they help to pick our next animal family members. And they will point them out to us, and they'll be the new ones that come into the family. They'll be their mentors and spirit guides, and say like, "Okay, you need to help her this way or that way," and it's pretty cool.
That is super cool. One thing that pops in my mind too about animals, especially when they pass, is that I've noticed they've sometimes like lingered, kind of
Yeah.
like we can sometimes. Have you
Hmm.
found that to be true? And in checking out different animals that have passed on?
Yeah, two things are happening there. One thing that happens is that, sure, they may be sticking around just a little bit. They tend to cross over much faster or have less of the, let's say, the recidivism of crossing over than humans, because they remember the process. They don't really forget, oh, what happens after we pass.
Mhm.
So that can happen. But what is interesting is that I think even with whether whoever has passed, it's like an impression on the field. If you can think of like when you sit on the couch and then your butt dent is in there,
Mhm.
that happens with the beings in our lives. And so sometimes it's just the frequencies that have been that are sort of recorded on the fabric of the field that is still there. And one way that I saw this was, I have birds, and I had my birds in one room of the house in their home, in their enclosure, which they're not always enclosed in, they're often around and about it. But then I moved it to a whole different part of the house. But I kept walking by it and seeing them and hearing them and feeling them out of the corner of my eye in that old spot. So they hadn't passed on, but they had the imprint in the field there still. And it felt very much like when I've lost an animal and I think that they're walking by me.
Mhm.
So there's that. They can linger. One time I was, my cat Barnabas was asleep under the coffee table. And suddenly he just like banged to the top of the coffee table and said, "Rawr," and ran out. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? Assuming he had a bad dream. And I, asked him what happened, telepathically communicated with him. And he said, well, I was sleeping and I started to kind of wake up or have a dream. I couldn't really tell. And then I saw like this, and he showed me a picture. It was like some kind of rodent, like badger or some kind of, maybe a raccoon, some kind of angry, fierce rodent. And then he said for a minute, because I was sort of in that in between state, like we can get in, like they have the same hypnotic state in between sleep. He said, I thought it was real, but then I realized it wasn't, but I'd already hit my head. So that's why I started running. and so, and so then I connected with wwhatever this rodent was. And it told me, I just got hit by a car, but it surprised me. And then he basically showed up spiritually in my space because of my channel, because of my light. It just happened magnetically. And so for a minute, he was kind of like Barnabas, like, I didn't know I was dead yet. And so but I've already moved on.
Wow. I mean, just like we can do, right? Like we have
Mm-hmm.
people come to us spiritually and go,
Yes.
what's going on? And they
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't realize they're dead either.
Right. Yes. So it happened much quicker with them, but it can still happen. I mean, animals, I think when they're delaying moving on, it's usually still on the body, on the embodiment side.
Mhm.
See, I help a lot with the transition process with people with their animals,
Mhm.
a lot. And I really don't ever tell the human this. So take this with a grain of salt, everyone. I don't tell the human this while they're in their grief process of their animal moving toward their graduation. But the animal, almost every time, some point the human comes to a place where they really get heart to heart with the animal and they say, you can go. You really can go whenever you're ready. And then it's like boom, boom, boom. Whether they assist them or not, it's just like undeniable. There's some moment that's actually co-created between the animal and the human.
Mhm.
Now, the human possibly thought I was telling them before that, but there's some kind of a more significant moment where they really know they've come to the place where they're like, you don't have to wait. And I know this happens human to human too. People tell their parents and stuff.
Mhm.
And so I don't tell the human that's what's going to happen because I don't want them to feel pressured or guilty about forcing that moment. But they time and again come and tell me this is what happened after all. So
Oh.
I think that, and I've talked to animals before too when they were in the, close to the transitioning process. One time I talked to this dog and he came to me with this panic, like, I just need her to be okay. I need her to be okay. And I said, okay, well, I'm sure she will be. And he's like, okay, good. And then he calmed. And then things started they had we did some clearing for the human too. And then other times it's just the animal is like, I just want them to celebrate that it's my time to graduate, and if they can get on board with that, everything's going to be fine. It's just hard for us because we're worried about their suffering and we're worried we're doing whatever the support is correctly. It's hard for us humans, but yeah, that's so I think the delay is usually on the side of staying in the body more, but that's just my perspective. That's just what I've experienced.
So you're a channel and
Yeah.
you're an empath and you work
Mhm.
with people and also with animals.
Mhm.
So when did you come into this reality of being able to connect with both of them, even though,
Mhm.
and in a different way, but connecting with both animals and with people?
So I mean, and from one perspective, it's the whole life, when you look back and you're like, oh yeah, I mean, definitely in childhood, we're purer and we're less conditioned. So I was talking to animals, and my sister and my dad are also natural animal communicators. I mean, we're all natural animal communicators, but just somehow it's a talent that really is in the forefront of their experiencing. And I also had imaginary friends, which were
Mhm.
guides. And interestingly, I was the youngest of four kids, and I was in like there was an age gap even for the last sister and for me to come along. So I was kind of like yeah, this is just cute. Yep, she has imaginary friends. They kind of indulged all of it. They didn't they didn't shut it down. They weren't afraid of it. They just thought it was a cute thing that a little girl was doing. But I didn't receive it as though they were like kind of diminishing me either. I just thought, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
But then I actually did have a spiritual awakening at around age 40.
Mhm.
And that opened up because my life had really changed and become much happier than it had ever been. I was in a wonderful, I think, was I married? Yeah, I was married. Wonderful relationship with my husband. We'd been together over 10 years. And I had a career that I never, at that time, I have a different career now because the awakening shifted to something even greater, but I loved the career at the time. And so I was noticing that I was waking up and having thoughts and feelings that didn't make sense for my life,
Mhm.
which kind of drove me. I had never before even considered having a psychic reading. And I just thought, why not? Maybe it'll be just fun. But for
Mhm.
some reason, as we say, and
Synchronicity, right?
yeah, the some reason. And so this 15-minute reading with the psychic, first time in my life, she said, well, you're an empath, right? Like as if I knew what that meant or anything. And so to speed the story along, I wanted to know how to be a healthy empath. And because I could tell that there was unhealthy things happening. If I'm holding on to thoughts that aren't mine, that's going to create um, inflammation in the body. It can create disease in the body. I already have enough of my own thoughts that are bad or unpleasant. I don't need to hold on to other people's unpleasant, like carrying their trash too. So anyway, I started seeing an energy coach. And in that process of going through my energy centers, we uncovered animal communication was the first thing we uncovered.
Mm.
And I mean, I guess if I digress a little bit, I did actually trigger that possibility when my cat had passed away about a year earlier because I felt him tell me, kind of that moment,
Mhm.
it's time. And I felt it in my body and it was undeniable.
Mhm.
So, anyway, without going into the whole story, I did after that after that one session where we uncovered this animal communication, I communicated with the cat that I was looking after, who was a feral cat, and the information. When I talked to her, I heard in my mind's ear her thoughts and her voice in a way that it was like, that's not even what I want her to say. So I know it's not mine. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't be projecting. I wanted her to say something simpler, which what she was telling me was to intervene and help her. And anyway, again, without taking too much time in the story, it ended up saving her life, where the doctors were like, you brought her in just in time because,
Mhm.
she was about to, what she told me, she was pregnant. She told me, I can't have these babies. And the doctor said there was a baby that was going to not turn the right way, lodge in her birth canal, and kill her and the babies. So when she said, I can't have these babies, which I heard in my mind's ear, that was literal. I can't. This not happening.
Mhm. Mhm. Right.
And after that, I was hooked. And probably 2 weeks later, I was in another spiritual development class, and the teacher said, well, you're a medium too. And so I started to practice and work on that. And to me, it's like a radio dial. This is how my sensing works. To
Mhm.
me, it's like, okay, animals are on 98.6. Um, Animals on the other side are on 101.3. And I'm just kind of tuning my frequency. And then we have past humans, archangels, other kinds of spirit guides, masters, interdimensionals. And to me, it's just attuning my energy like a radio dial. And so it just kind of works all the same for me.
Wow. And what's really cool about, I guess, the animal aspect is that they're just pure love.
Oh,
So
yeah.
unlike working with humans, who have all these concepts and beliefs and different layers of working through that. And so what took you to the to accessing hypnosis? Because that's
Mm.
obviously a very unique way of therapy.
Well, you know what is interesting? I think that sometimes there's a widespread misconception about hypnosis. In fact, everything that we do that is spiritual connecting, meditating, it's all hypnosis. It all falls under the umbrella of hypnosis. We think of it maybe as changing our state. And if when you change your state from something that's focus high beta or beta focusing or high beta focusing, you're going into some level of hypnotic state.
Mhm.
Hypnosis isn't always trance or, it can be just the daydream, like when you're daydreamy. And that's actually a state that we do readings in a lot of the time, sometimes a little deeper than that. But that's actually that what we call the alpha state. That's a state of hypnosis. And so everything really falls under the umbrella of being able to shift your state to access the subconscious mind The subconscious mind is your portal to the collective subconscious or the collective consciousness. So that's why. And if we want to change habits, if we want to heal ourselves, if we want to do any of that, energy healing is done with and on the subconscious mind. And so that's why I work with it, especially one-on-one. But I work with it in groups as well. So all of my teaching includes me giving either, we call them meditations sometimes, or hypnotic journeys. It doesn't really matter. Just in slightly different ways that I use techniques. And it helps to attune their energy and attune their beliefs so that they can embody the things that they want to experience as skills and abilities. So that's it.
Oh, that's so cool. Have you found that people that are like waking up, because there's so many right now really on that, been shaken up to now, okay, what's all this about, the reality of things? Have you found that hypnosis has really been a technique that you've been able to access and really use with those people that maybe don't, really say that they're metaphysical or spiritual, but can really access that abilities through hypnosis?
Oh, for sure. I mean, again, across the board for any kind of human, no matter what your beliefs are, hypnosis is the way that we make changes in our life. It may be that you are using affirmations or positive thinking or positive focusing, or if you're a creative artist, all of anything that is creating something new, we first go, because the subconscious mind is where newness can come in. The subconscious mind holds our known associations. We could also call those beliefs. And those are sort of like little pathways in our energy to make things more efficient. And it defaults to that. The conscious mind, when we're focusing and we're using logic, analysis, reasoning, willpower, and decision making. And when I say decision making, I mean not holistic choice. Like, I want to change my diet, but those cookies are calling me, we have sort of this tip of the iceberg, and then the greater part of the iceberg is submerged, and that's the subconscious mind. So we actually do always, in order for a change to happen in our life, work with the subconscious mind. We can willpower something for a little bit, but some of us can't even do that. We just don't have a willpower that way. And when we use just sheer will without a holistic energy resource of it, it could possibly injure us, because you know what I mean? It's just like following something that is not necessarily correct for us. It could be by accident. We could injure ourselves, we could create something, or it'll just give out or burn ourselves out. There's different things that would happen if we just tried to force will. So we do need to, no matter what our beliefs or worldview is, we work with our subconscious mind to create changes.
That's kind of important, right?
It's kind of important. Yeah. Which, you can do that at home, by the way, by just journaling or using affirmations right before you fall asleep, because that's a hypnotic state. That's the magic hour. And also when you wake up in the morning.
Love it. Good way to go to bed. Good way to get up.
Yeah.
Well, I want to change the focus here a little bit and just, I want to share about your podcast, Charmed Life, which you've had running since 2016. And when I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Because podcasts now are like, there's so many, and it's amazing how expansive it is now. But you really started it. You were kind of one of the forerunners of starting it.
You think so?
I think so.
It has blown up even more since that time. Yeah, I love it. I just started doing it, which is the best reason to start doing anything, because I love it, because I loved it, and I wanted to. I guess I had started my business by then, but I didn't even think about it as marketing. I don't know. It is a great tool for marketing, though. I mean, for people who are helpers, healers, guides, counselors, because the medium, people will listen to a longer amount of time of it, as opposed to the 5 seconds on TikTok.
The quick video, right?
Yeah. Can't do a lot of teaching or healing in 5 seconds. So, I just started doing it because I wanted to. I've always, by the way, one way you can kind of observe what your life purpose or some of the things you want to do in this life is like what you did as a kid. So I was playing with animals and, rolling around in nature. And then for Christmas of 1985, I got a tape recorder and I was walking around and interviewing my family.
Oh, there you go. Pre-podcast days, right, Tricia?
Yes, exactly. So I've been doing it since 1985.
It really formed big time in 2016.
Exactly. I just got a better microphone.
Exactly. And more people understood, and it really came to the forefront. Like, now people, well, actually I saw recently it was 30% of people really know about podcasts and listen to podcasts. 30%.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, and listen to this statistic. 80% of podcast listeners listen to almost every minute of the podcast.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's again a really great way to connect with people. Even if there's not as much of a two, you can create a two-way exchange with like a Google form, or obviously when they leave reviews,
Mhm.
as much as there is with other kinds of social platforms where you can just have the conversation right there. But still, with resonance, you're just connecting with people, and so I think it's lovely. So my podcast is about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I do episodes solo. I do a lot of them interview or conversation style like this as well. So yeah, mostly the conversation style, but yeah, about, I would say, 10 to 15% solo episodes too.
And is it weekly?
Yes, at least weekly. Sometimes I do a couple of episodes or a couple of postings a week. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
Hmm.
and what I love about it too is worldwide. So, like,
Hmm.
people all over the world can listen to this versus going, okay, we're in America and it's only Americans and whatever, right? I mean, it's so diverse and wonderful, expansive now.
Yes, absolutely. And my guides tell me about watching replays or listening to recordings. They say you're time traveling, and they love for us to just think of it that way, that time is a tool, and that's one way that we actually time travel, because when you are watching a video or listening to an audio in playback, you're there.
Mm.
And you're there at the time that it was recorded 2 weeks ago, a month ago, because energy is that intelligent. It can already see what you're planning to do. It can blow your mind a little bit, but yeah, it's time travel.
It was super fun, super cool. Well, Tricia, I'd love for you to share with the listeners some ways, some new things you've got coming up. I know you've got a couple of things you want to talk about and ways they can connect with you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, the podcast, of course, it's just called Charmed Life. You might want to put in Charmed Life with Tricia Carr.
Mhm.
And then I have a YouTube channel where I do post sometimes clips of the podcast. Go live on there a lot too, where I'm actually interacting with the audience, giving channeled messages,
Mhm.
and creating other kinds of content on the YouTube channel. And Instagram, I really like Instagram, so you can find me at Tricia Carr Charm. And then, yeah, coming up, I'm actually my two signature programs, which I haven't done them in a year because I just got really busy with some other things, including COVID, by the way, a
No,
couple of times. There's that. But I was working on a few other projects. But I'm about to start both of my two signature programs, and the next one's coming up is animal communication. And then the other one is multidimensional mediumship. And that is, yes, connecting with past humans, your loved ones, but it's also having that conversation, communication with other realms of spirit like angels and masters. And like I said, I think about it as changing the dial. But I also do little workshops here and there. Like I have an advanced channeling workshop, people that I've worked with in channeling, and that's coming up. That's just a one off. But yeah, the animal communication and the mediumship, while I'm launching them right now, they're also going to be continual. After about a month, you'll be able to enroll and be in the whole community of it too.
beautiful. And they can find that on your website, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Hmm.
And all that will be in the show notes. So you can definitely go there, check out Tricia, check out her wonderful podcast. And thank you so much for coming on today, Tricia, and especially giving insights about the animal communication and being the telepath and how people can really access their animals and really, like you said, learn how to work with them and learn how to really communicate with them at a different level.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for having me, Teresa. What a wonderful platform you're creating here, and a wonderful resonant container. So thank you for doing this work on our beautiful world.
Well, was that a fun episode having Tricia on today and talking a lot about animal communication? I loved it. And I'm so glad she came on. So thank you, Tricia, for coming on. Thanks to each and every one of you around the world who are listening in. I appreciate you so very much. And if you've not subscribed, please make sure that you do. Please make sure that you like and leave a comment for me. I'd love to hear how you like this episode or another one. Also, please feel free to share with your friends and family if you know someone that might want to hear a little more about this episode or other ones and insights about your mind, body, spirit parts of your life. And also, please make sure to check out Pod Inbox. If you want to leave me a message about if you have a question about something or want to connect, you can definitely go to the show notes to Pod Inbox. So until next week, just remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.